Ahuna Vairya is the Avestan language name of Zoroastrianism's first of four Gathic Avestan formulas. The text, which appears in Yasna 27.13, is also known after its opening words yatha ahunwar. In Zoroastrian tradition, the formula is also known as the ahunwar. Numerous translations and interpretations exist, but the overall meaning of the text remains obscure. The Ahuna Vairya and ahunwar are together very cryptic formulas of a pronounced magical character. The Ahuna Vairya is named after the Ahuna Vairya formula. In relation to the other formulas, like the other three formulas, the Ahuna Vairya is part of the Gathic canon, that is, part of the group of texts composed in the more archaic dialect of the Avestan language. Together with the other three formulas, the Ahuna Vairya is part of the envelope that liturgically encloses the Gathas, i.e., the hymns attributed to Zoroaster himself. One of the formulas, the Ahunwar, follows the Gathas, while the other three formulas, Ahuna Vairya, ahunwar and yatha, precede them. Unlike the third and fourth formula, the first two formulas, the Ahuna Vairya and the ahunwar, are part of the Kushti prayers. Unlike the third and fourth formula, the first two do not express wishes and are technically purificatory and meditational declarations. In scripture, the Ahuna Vairya is already a subject of theological exegesis in scripture itself, in particular in Yasna 19, where this utterance is a thing of such a nature that if all the corporeal and living world should learn it, and learning hold fast by it, they would be redeemed from the mortality. In Yasna 19.3 and 4.8, the formula is described as having been a primordial utterance of Ahura-Mazda, articulated immediately after the creation of the spiritual world, and that its efficacy in aiding the righteous is due to its primordial nature. As a primordial utterance, the Ahuna Vairya is described to have talismanic virtues, the power to aid mortals in distress, and inversely as a potent weapon against the demonic devas. Elsewhere in the Avesta, the Ahuna Vairya is described as the most victorious, as the veracious word, as the sacred gift. In Vendida 11.3, in addition to being most healing, frequent recitation of the Ahuna Vairya is prescribed as an act of hygiene to protect the body. In Yasna 9.14, Zoroaster is given credit as the first mortal to recite it. In tradition, the hymn's supremacy among sacred Zoroastrian formulae is well developed in the 9th–11th century texts of Zoroastrian tradition. In the Denkid, 4 of the 21 nasks are described to have expounded on the efficacy of the hymn, and each volume of the nasks is said to have been initially assigned its title from a word in the Ahuna Vairya prayer. The formula's potency to smite demons and protect life and property are described at length, and the formula's primordial nature is seen as the root and summation of the belief in Ahura-Mazda, the seed of seeds of the reckoning of the religion. Quote, the Bundarishan, an 11th–12th century narrative of Zoroastrian cosmogonical myths, continues and embellishes the Avesta's description of the Ahuna Vairya as a primordial utterance. In the tradition, Ahuna Vairya is not only an utterance of Mazda following the creation of the spiritual world. Additionally, in Bundarishan 12.13–14, the spirit of the yatha ahunwar is the first manifestation of the luminaries that Ahura-Mazda created, i.e., the spirit of the formula is the first of the material creations, and is at the same time the fire force from which the material world is created. Moreover, in articulating the formula, Ahura-Mazda made his ultimate triumph evident to the evil spirit, who then fell back, confounded and impotent as to the harm he caused the creatures of Ahura-Mazda. The Vendidad's prescription of recitation of the formula as an act of hygiene is reiterated in the Sayasni, which prescribes recitation when sneezing or coughing, and recommends invocation when pouring potable liquids. The Sayasni additionally notes that a mumbling of the prayer is particularly offensive. The Denkard additionally suggests the formula be uttered when entering a house, while the Avesta's Yasna 19 sees the subject of the Ahuna Vairya formula as referring to Zoroaster and possibly to his successors. Later tradition infers no such connection, and applies it evenly to all followers of Zoroaster's teaching. Text, translation and interpretation. Like all Gathic Avestan verses, the prayer is altogether ambiguous and translations vary significantly. Even though several translations and interpretations exist, the overall meaning of the prayer remains obscure. The terseness of the prose, elaborate arrangement and poetical techniques make a translation from the older Avestan difficult. Given its syntactic density, scholarly agreement on a definitive translation, or even close approximation of its meaning, remains unlikely. Translations based on Middle Persian translations of the hymn also exist and can differ greatly from those based on the Avestan original. The version found in the Avesta edition of Geldner reads, Yare Ahuvariyo Aratus as it cit haka, van hayes dasdamananyo es lau ananame nhes mazda xs aremka ahurayo yim driga biodada vastarim. There are transliterations available with differences concerning certain words. Transliteration of Helmut Humbach, Yare Ahuvariyo, a aratus as it cit squared haka van hayes cubed dasdamananyo, s lau ananim to the power of 4 anhes to the power of 5 mazda xs aremka to the power of 6 ahurai to the power of 7, Yim Drigabio to the power of 8, Dada Vastarim to the power of 9, Vairyo. In Zarathustra and his antagonists squared, Asatcit cubed, Van Hise, to the power of 4. Other versions are Eslauananam and Eslaunanam to the power of 5, Anhise to the power of 6, Xs Aremka to the power of 7. The version Ahuraya is found in Martin L. West's book, but this is, it seems, the one and only example to the power of 8, Drigabhio to the power of 9, Vastarim version of Professor Lawrence Mills with another transliteration script, Yatheta Ahuvariyo Theta Ratus Asach Hak Vanhise Dasdamananyo Syao Theta Nanam Anhise Mazda XSA Theta Remka Ahurayo Yim Drigabhio Dada Vastarim Dastur Dala also notes that a corrupt form of the prayer is commonly used. Athau Veryotetos Chade Chide Chavanghus Desdamanangho Sotananam, Angius Mazdakosa Thram Che Oream Dergo Biodeda Vastarim. An attempt of a more literal translation of Humbacanichaparia, since, as he is to be chosen by the world, therefore, so the judgment emanating from truth itself on the deeds of good thought of the world is committed to Mazda, and the power to Ahura squared, whom assign as a shepherd to the poor. Mazda, in dative form here, could be translated as the wise one squared. Ahura, also in dative, could be translated as the God Spirit. Anyway, even this translation attempt does not give an authentic translation of the original with all its more deeper significance. Translation by Boyce essentially derived from that of S. Inslow. As the master, so is the judge to be chosen in accord with truth. Establish the power of acts arising from a life lived with good purpose, for Mazda and for the Lord whom they made pastor for the poor. A simple translation from the Zoroastrian Middle Persian by Dharmastata. The will of the Lord is the law of righteousness. The gifts of the good mind to the deeds done in this world for Mazda. He who relieves the poor makes Ahura king. a translation from the Avestan by Windfer, whereas he shall be chosen by the world. So, according to truth, the judgment of deeds done by the world in good faith is yielded to Mazda, and the power of the Ahura whom they shall assign as pastor to the poor. Humbach, Elefenbein and Shavo translate it as, his judgment is to be chosen by the world, so the judgment in accord with the truth on the actions of good throughout the world is assigned to the wise, and the power to the Lord whom they established as shepherd to the needy. Other interpretations are listed in the further reading section below.